you're always leaving them with, this is how, today and every day, this is what I want to see you try when you.
Something I started this year is having my students write down. So they sectioned off the back of their writer's notebook, and so when we meet, they actually write down the date, and then they write down what they need to do, making them responsible. Like, I need to work on, stopping at the end of the sentence when I see a period, a question mark, and so then they're responsible for it. So the documentation is huge, but I really love them being responsible for it and teaching them note taking.
Absolutely.
I think that's really big. I really worked on this last year. Not taking it 100%, but you should be able to go to your student and go, what are you working on as a reader? And they should be able to tell you. I mean, it's very.
And it shouldn't be getting good at reading. It should be a very specific strategy that they are working on. Or I want to read this many words. If you're older, they're tracking how many pages or chapters. Same thing. On your tables, and if you don't have one, I have extras here. But I was trying to make sure classroom teachers had this. This is there's actually 4 conferring cheat sheets, and I took it out of. I have a conferring notebook that was like my pride and joy during the workshop. We made them as a first grade data team. It was an idea we saw at a reading workshop. So right in the front, I have the architecture of a conference, and that's on yours too. The art of a compliment is giving you the language to use with your students. Conferring prompts, what are you trying to get better at as a reader? Can you show me how or where you're doing that? And then your conferring cheat sheet to the architecture, like what does the research, what should it sound like? The compliment is those beautiful words. I noticed that you, teaching point in the link. So these are just like nice reminders and a quick go-to. This is something maybe we could try to do down the line. I'm not jumping on that right now. But if you want to,
We have it. I have it all saved if anyone wants to make it. And they're teaching points based on level, based on if you're teaching decoding. So it's all broken up for that. But I mean, if you are interested in making it, I have it.
oh yeah,
Okay, yeah.
oh, it's awesome. Yeah, so it's just really nice as a resource to go to. And you can also add your own. Like if you're going through, there's one that's not in here, just jot it in. So that's for you to keep. And
The Pathways book has it also.
oh, does it?
And they now have, like, you can put them on labels, and they tell you the size labels you can run through for age grade. And you can just put it right inside of the student's notebook, and it says, like, this is what we talked about, and it's a lot of the language, and it's a lot of the standard things that we are trying to help students with.
Awesome. That's
So
nice.
it's a little impersonal, but I'm sure we can put a sticker on it and make it. Third grade like this.
I have it also if you want it.
Yeah, we didn't get this in 4th grade, but do you have something similar to like this for like 4th grade?
We can email the person and see if she has it, because I think it only goes up to K.
Mine, I think I have up to M.
Okay.
That's the conferring workshops that you guys went to, so they just.
They gave us,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but we can email her, because I think she made us like we're gonna stop looking.
Okay.
Thank you. As far as documentation, we do it very differently. I could not do the Confer app, but I mean, you have to do what works for you. I write everything down, all my notes in a notebook, and that happens to work for me. I can go right back to the date, know what we are working on, bring it up with them. Some teachers have done sticky notes where they put on like the address label and they give it stays in the student's book, so when they take it home, the parents know what they're working on, but you gotta find what works for you. It's effective if you have a teaching point, give it to the student, in the younger grades, illustrate it, because they really can't read it, so something that's meaningful for them. But they need to own the teaching point. They really need to practice it. It has to be there, or it's useless. It didn't mean anything. And then you're gonna go to the Confer app.
So for those of you who are like, I don't like the notebook and you want to do more tech, I signed up for the Confer app thanks to Paul because he gave us those gift cards those one year. And so I used it because it is a $10 app.
No, it's $25.
Oh, just kidding. No,
It's
it's
a
a
one-time to 25.
Because I didn't buy it when I should have, and I
Ah.
was like, oh, just kidding.
All right, just kidding. But what's nice, and I'll show you a video of it. It's not just for readers workshops. So when you open your the Confer app, it's basically like an electronic notebook, and you can make as many subject areas as you want. So for me personally, I had writers, readers, and math, but I'll be honest, I used it most for writing and reading. And what's nice about it is when you click in made my readers workshop one. You can, yeah, I'm gonna put, that's okay, they don't use it. So anyway, I have my class list from last year, and then I can flag my babies that I was super concerned about, just as a visual, but then when you click on them, it'll tell you the last time we met, the dates for you. Yeah, it has your notes, anything you noticed, observations, the level that they're reading at, and you can update that as they grow as readers, what you noticed, your teaching point, and then there's a place for next steps. So it's already formatted for you. And sometimes I had babies, especially for like RTI meetings, if I wanted to show parents or even an example of work, you can take a picture with your iPad and it loads it, saves it to the student and confirm. So that's kind of a nice piece of documentation. In addition, what was even like more fun to learn about this app was that you can export it as a Google document or an Excel. So all of my conferring notes on one student, I could print out in one file.
Which was helpful for report cards.
It was very helpful for report cards or when it came to conferences or when you need to document how many times you met with that student. There it is. And it dates it for you and it saves all your information.
I was going to say, like, if you ever use that app, that could be something helpful to bring to, like, that or, like, a child study meeting or something like that.
Absolutely. So
Or your notebook.
it does take getting used to. It does take getting used to, but once I got the hang of it, for me, typing was so much faster, and I just put it in, and it saves your teaching points for you. So if you have like the students working on readers read from the first word and sentence all the way through the punctuation, it saves that teaching point. So if you have another kid that's working on that, you don't have to retype it; you just select it. So Confer took some getting used to, but I really embraced it, and I really like using it. So I have a brief overview so you can kind of see it in action. I think it's on.
Hi, I'm David Lowe from the Seattle Public Schools, and welcome to Confer. Confer is an app for the iPhone, iPad, and iPod Touch that lets you take notes on your students and then use those notes in ways you've never been able to with paper and pencil. Here's a quick overview of what you can do with Confer. First, select one of your subjects. Then, scroll through and select one of your students. Then add a new note to that student. Notes are divided into strengths, teaching points, and next steps. And you can also add tags to each note as well. You can enter as much or as little text as you want into each field.
I put my
Or
anecdotal
you can
notes
simply
in the
leave
tag
things blank.
when I used it.
You can also reuse any text you've entered previously to make your note taking quicker. Each field can also take multiple entries if, for example, you wanted to add more than one next step to a student.
This is where like you notice a million things that they need to work on. That's
Save the note, and it gets added to that student. The student screen lets you scroll quickly through all the notes taken on that student, letting you track the instruction and progress of each of your students. In addition to taking quick and detailed notes, Confer also lets you view your students in a variety of ways. You can view them by date, putting the students you've met with most recently at the bottom, and the ones you need to meet with next at the top. You can also view them by the content of their notes, looking for students with the same tag, strength, teaching point, or next step.
There's your instant strategy groups.
Oh my gosh, they would have had this when we were teaching.
You can view students by the level that you've assigned to them, or you can view them by the flag that you've marked them with.
There's your guided view groups.
With Confer, you can also create flexible small groups, quickly adding new groups, disbanding groups, and even moving students between groups.
Older grades, book clubs.
You can also search through the text of students' notes. So if you wanted to look for students that had recently demonstrated a strength in, say, making predictions, with Confer, you could do that. And no matter how you're viewing your students, you can always select multiple students and add the same note to each of those students. Finally, Confer lets you export your data as either a Google spreadsheet or as an email attachment that can be imported back onto your device, letting you back up your data as well as share your data with other colleagues. And that's Confer, a mobile app that combines quick, student-centered note-taking with powerful, flexible views in order to help you as a teacher continue teaching well.
That's
So,
amazing.
like I said, it takes getting used to, and there's a lot there. And the coolest thing that I didn't even realize, you can link to other teachers, and I haven't done this yet, I just learned this from one of the videos. So like if I see your students and you used Confer, you could link me and I could add my notes to your student. I haven't done that yet, so don't ask me how to do it, but I know that that's a possibility, which, so I say if you have the money and you're interested and you like the tech part, that app was awesome for me to use. I loved using that app. So that's Confer. Yes, ma'am.
I bought Confer and then I just couldn't get into the swing of it. I use Gradebook.
Oh.
And then I directly have in there, so I'll put the date, and maybe it spans from a week, like that I'm seeing them. And then I go in and put grades, I put notes in the message area. And then when it comes time for me to do report cards, I have it in there because it directly links to what I'm grading them on. And then it's something that's been communicated, so since the first part of school, it could have been something that I've been doing, and if parents did want to check, that they could look in there and say, oh my gosh, Mrs. Tolucci is working with my student on this, and they have a 2, or they have a 1. That's what she said she was concerned, there's the evidence. So I also use Gradebook, kind of like a crazy person.
Thank you. So the next part is just kind of a recap, because we were thinking, you know, there's a lot of us that are in a new position this year, or just changing it up. So we just thought we'd recap on the importance of our level libraries. We know they're important. Getting just right books into your students' hands is priority, because if they're, yeah.
If you don't have a level library, use that level book room. I mean, we have amazing resources. I mean, I know it takes so many years to build up that level library.
So we have book shopping. With K2, you're looking at in their book bins, they should have some independent, definitely instructional, and maybe a level above if you think they're ready. Just to push them to that next level, it can't hurt them. But you definitely want your book to be instructional and then a few independent to push them up. In K2, ideally, you want 10 to 12 books in a bin per child because they read through them so quickly. And I know that you're thinking, there's no way my library is not even that big. So you just do the best you can. If you have to, go from the level library in the book room, which I'm sorry is a disaster. But that's a great resource. Lindsay and I pooled our books together over the years, so we shared a level library as a grade level, and that way, like, students from her class were getting books that she wouldn't normally have, so at least they're getting that variation. They're not pulling the same ones all the time. So if you wanted to do that, that's an option. We just clearly labeled, like, what was hers, what was mine.
How can we expedite getting that room, because right now the popcorn machine's in there, and there's books all over the floor. I almost hurt myself in there the other day. Last thing I want to do, we can't get to the books.
We were wondering the same thing about the popcorn machine, and
Hi, Paul.
not to take over this.
When we,
the
after
presentation.
construction.
Yeah,
we'll
We'll work on that.
I mean, there's power in rereading their books too. I mean, just they don't have to. They shouldn't just be reading that book once.
Right. And 3-5s, we understand that varies. They're in chapter books, so that depends on what level they're at. And if there's a chapter book, we've heard anywhere from 2 to 3 chapter books, or 1 and 1 on deck. So you guys know how to best meet your book shopping needs in that area. So I put leveling resources up there. These are ones that I've used in the past. I would definitely say if you've never leveled a library, spend the $25 on the Fontes and Pinnell Leveled Books website. If you've never leveled, or you're new to a grade level, because theirs match up specifically with titles that are popular or that you are most likely to have in your room, and that is like the main source of where our assessment comes from. So it's a one that's a yearly fee. But we used it initially, and you can log in as much as you want. Like, we shared it, and we would just go through the books and stick a label on it, put it in the library. So that's the best one. Good is Scholastic Book Wizard or the app. It's free, but I caution you because their leveling is not perfect. So just err on the side of caution when you level those books. But what is nice is if you have the app on your phone, it can use your phone as a scanner to just scan the barcode, and then it sends you all the info. A little bit better is Level It app, because then it actually automatically inventories your library so that you know which books you actually have. Yep, and then you can do like a checkout system with that too. but I would strongly recommend the FMP one if